Met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Most psychiatrists look for trauma. They look for a broken home, a history of abuse, or a biological reason why a child snaps. They want to find a reason to sympathize. But in 1963, in a cold, sterile room in Smith's Grove Sanitarium, Dr. Sam Loomis realized he wasn't dealing with a human being. He was dealing with a void. He wasn't looking at a boy who was sick. He was looking at a predator that was perfectly formed. He famously said, "I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil." Think about the weight of those words. 15 years. That is over 5,000 days of staring at a wall, of Michael Myers not saying a single word, not blinking, not showing a shred of remorse for killing his own sister. For 15 years, Loomis sat across from a statue of flesh. He watched the seasons change outside, while inside those grey walls, time stood still. Loomis didn't just fail to cure him. Loomis became the only man on Earth who truly understood that Michael wasn't waiting for therapy. He was waiting for the right moment to strike. And the ultimate tragedy of Loomis's life? Nobody believed him. They called him an alarmist. They called him obsessed. They didn't believe him until the sidewalk was stained red and the screams started echoing through the streets of Haddonfield. Why did Loomis stay? Any other doctor, any other professional with a career to protect would have quit or moved to a different hospital after the first 5 years of silence. But for Loomis, it became a divine responsibility. He saw himself as a sentinel. He didn't see Michael as a patient anymore. He saw him as a biological mistake that needed to be contained behind bars forever. He wasn't just a doctor, he was a gatekeeper standing between us and the abyss. When Michael escaped in 1978, Loomis didn't just follow hospital protocol. He didn't wait for the board of directors to sign a form or for the police to file a report. He grabbed a .35-7 Magnum and headed straight to the source. He knew the geography of Michael's mind better than Michael himself. He knew the monster would go home. In the original 1978 masterpiece, look closely at Loomis's face when he talks to Sheriff Brackett. He's not just scared, he's disgusted. He looks at the world through a lens of permanent dread. This is a man who has looked into the darkness for too long, and eventually, the darkness started looking back. He stopped being a man of science and became a hunter. By the events of Halloween 2, we see Loomis reaching a breaking point. He is literally running through the corridors of a burning hospital, waving his gun and shouting warnings that fall on deaf ears. He isn't trying to save Michael anymore. He's trying to erase him from existence. In the climax of that film, he blows up an entire oxygen-filled room engulfed in flames, just to stop the shape. He was willing to burn alive, to turn himself into ash, just to make sure the nightmare ended that night. But to truly understand the man who treated evil, we have to look at the legendary Thorn Trilogy, parts 4, 5, and 6. This is where the medical mystery turns into a supernatural nightmare. In Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, we see the physical and mental toll 10 years after the fire. Loomis is scarred, he's limping, and worst of all, the medical community treats him like a dangerous lunatic. They actually try to take his medical license away. Imagine being the only person on the planet who can stop a supernatural mass murderer, and the government treats you like you're the crazy one. He became a pariah. He was the prophet of doom that Haddonfield deserved, but the one they refused to hear until it was too late. In Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, we see the absolute dark side of Loomis's obsession. This is no longer about medicine. Loomis realizes that Michael has a psychic connection with his niece, Jamie Lloyd, and here, the good doctor does the unthinkable. He uses a terrified, traumatized child as human bait. He screams, "Die, die, die," while beating Michael with a wooden plank. At this point, Loomis is just as broken, just as violent, and just as obsessive as the monster he's chasing. But the real terrifying truth comes out in Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. This is where we learn about the Cult of Thorn, an ancient druid curse that forces a bloodline to sacrifice its own to save the rest of the tribe. Loomis begins to realize that Michael isn't just a random killer. He is a vessel for an ancient cosmic evil represented by the thorn symbol. Loomis discovers that he wasn't just Michael's doctor. He was part of their plan. The cult needed a watcher. They needed someone to document the evil, to treat it so it could grow. Loomis's entire life was orchestrated by a dark conspiracy he never saw coming. He realizes that Michael isn't just a man. He's a curse that has infected everyone around him, including Loomis himself. The production of Halloween 6 was famously cursed too. Donald Pleasance, the man who brought Dr. Loomis to life, passed away just months after filming ended. It was as if the curse of Thorn followed the cast off the set and into the real world, marking the final stand of the man who spent his life treating evil. Without Sam Loomis, Michael Myers is just a mute guy in a cheap plastic mask. Loomis is the one who gives Michael his legend. He is the narrator of our nightmares. He is the one who told us what Michael was, so we didn't have to guess. He translated the silence of the mask into the language of cosmic fear. In the end, Loomis was right about everything. Every time the town of Haddonfield ignored him, people died. Every time a scientist thought Michael was just a man who could be studied, the body count rose. He was the ultimate sacrifice horror cinema needed to make Michael feel unstoppable. He taught us the most terrifying lesson of all, that sometimes there is no why. There is no childhood trauma that explains the darkness. Sometimes evil just exists, plain and simple. And when that evil comes knocking on your door, all you can do is pray that someone like Sam Loomis is standing in the way, revolver in hand, ready to stare back into the abyss. So, I have to ask you, was Dr. Loomis a hero for sacrificing his life to stop Michael, or was he a victim of the curse of Thorn just like everyone else? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mind of horror's greatest doctor, hit that like button and subscribe for more.